praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rechak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations. Much love and respect to you, Akim, out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. It's your brother Chayan Apash coming at you with another lesson. And this lesson is going to be entitled, It's a Cultural Thing with These N-Dubs. Excuse me. I'll say that again. It's a cultural thing with these N-Dubs. The problem is cultural. Know your worth, Jake. All right? Because a lot of men, a lot of so-called black men, and I'm speaking to you so-called black men specifically, right? The Southern Kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, starting with Judah, you've been beat down so long by not only Esau, but by Esau's, lieutenant and counterpart, which is the so-called black woman. You have been beaten down so long by those two that you're really in a state of Stockholm syndrome, and even to the point of, brothers, that, may be in this mindset as well. Brothers that, we love, I care about you brothers. And, I know the apostles care about us, and they say certain things for our benefit. And how long have they been telling us about Eve? Right? Their main talking point wasn't about the Latin tribes, although they mentioned the Latin tribes too, but the main talking point was always about Eve. We know that them in general, they're wicked in the society in the West. But Eve is at the top of that wickedness. And she's at the forefront leading the pack when it comes to that wickedness. Showing them how to be rebellious and against the man. So that's a big reason for your downfall and your weak mind state. All right. So I want to play this video here as well. This is for my boy AC. Shout out to the brother Shamai from Toronto, the Toronto camp. That brother, he always sends me things on AC. He's been sending me this for a while, but I never really looked at it, like say how long he's been. I just recently started really listening to this guy. But, I just looked at it, it's just another red pill guy. I listened to it for a second, I turned it off. But you know what? I like his mindset more than the rest of them. Because what he's telling Jake to do is to leave Keisha alone, period. That's what and he's breaking it down, and he's exposing them, and he's breaking it down. He even exposed Shahrazad Ali, which my eyebrow went up at Shahrazad Ali too, because we thought she was one of the different ones, one of the ones that were different, what they would call unicorns or whatever the case may be. But you know what? He exposed her as well. And, I seen something funny with her when Kevin Samuels passed. She was speaking like she was mocking his death. And she didn't like how he came and this and that and the third. So she still had that mindset of the N-Dub. And he actually goes further into that in certain past videos of how her disrespect was no different than the average N-Dub, which he calls Keisha. All right. So when you watch him, it's not just her he exposed. He goes through the history. He goes through a lot, to show you they were never really with you. Okay, they were never really with you. They're really with Esau. And I want to get a scripture, because this is all about, pushing forth the scriptures. So I want to start by reading the scripture before we get too deep into talking. Hold on. Let's click this again, and I'll read it. Sirach 25. You know what? And I'm going to have to read this whole thing, but I'm going to read it piecemeal. Let's start probably from I could get the plague of the heart, plague, the wickedness of a woman. But you know what? Let's do verse 16. It says, I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. The wickedness of a woman changeth her face and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. And you don't even necessarily have to be, married to a woman or be in a relationship. This, you can see that even with your own mother or your own grandmother. If you're with them, if you've been living with them, that wickedness, that nagging spirit, that the wicked conversations and so on and so forth, that really affects a man negatively. It does something to our spirit. Even when a woman screams and raises her voice, that does something to a man's spirit. There's a negative effect there. That's why the scriptures speak of a woman's scream as a weapon. Right? They're not supposed to be loudmouth. They're not supposed to be boisterous. How the average so-called black woman is. Okay, they're not supposed to be like that, but they're like that in this society because they really have a masculine air about them. Okay. So it says, the wickedness of a woman changeth her face and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. Her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth it, shall sigh bitterly. Okay, about the wickedness, the slander, because they're slandering you. They already slandered you to the world. The reason why they look at you as deadbeat fathers and lowlives, not responsible children, really has a lot to do with what they push to the world in these different programs. Oprah, different programs throughout decades, and they willfully demonized you. Okay. And not holding themselves accountable. So they made themselves look like angels while they demonized you. It says, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. Okay. And like I told you, Jake is dealing with that the most when it comes to his woman. Right. When I say Jake, I'm specifically speaking about the Southern Kingdom. And I'm not saying that the Northern Kingdom do not have wickedness amongst their. Well, of course, a lot of the Northern Kingdom women act just like the end up, act just like their sister, their wicked, treacherous sister Judah. They act just like them. They follow behind them, But there was a time when they weren't really like that, and deep down they know the right way as a woman. Okay. Deep down they know because their grandmothers taught them. Their mothers taught their grandmothers at least. Their grandmothers at least taught their mothers that. There's videos of a woman, a Latin tribe woman, multiple videos of that. Like it was like a trend that, they would not, let's say they would be doing something and they would ask their husband to come and help her with like dishes or thing, and then the mother would be there. She'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? No, go sit down, relax. And then she'll curse out the daughter. So that's part of the cultural programming of them being a woman. Now the mother was vexed at her, as she should be, and that's what a real woman is supposed to teach the younger woman. But that culture is not amongst, and a matter of fact, it's the actual opposite. They'll shame you for doing the things that a real woman is supposed to do. There's actually these women got to defend themselves about cooking and cleaning for their husband amongst the what my boy calls the rap community. They got to actually defend that. They got to actually give reasoning. Well, he pays all the bills and this and that. They have to give a reasoning why they're cooking for their husband. This is crazy, man. And why they clean the house. Oh, well, see, so see, those ones that are defending why they're doing it is, you see, those are the unicorns. No, they're not the unicorns. No, they're not, because the fact that they feel like they have to defend it, and the way they're defending it is by saying, I'm only doing this because he's doing that, shows you that if he wasn't so-called being able to pay all the bills, they wouldn't fall into that womanly role happily. Okay? They're the most rebellious at this particular point in time. That's just the bottom line. And there's no you can't recover them. They're not gonna come back to their senses. When they're gonna come back to their senses, I'm gonna tell you when it's too late. They're gonna come back to their senses when all hell breaks loose. So I agree with the apostles and certain brothers where it's like, we got to get, a lot of them women are not gonna come from America, especially not the Southern Kingdom. They're too far gone. They're too far gone. Even now, they know they learn they're Israelites, and they're making videos to rebuke the men and to teach, even though they know what the scriptures say. They got a wicked, rebellious spirit in them. And you don't see videos of there's Latin tribe sisters that are in the truth too. There's Latin tribe, there's Gadites that are in the truth, that look like Gadites and look like Latin tribes, that grew up around Gad and grew up around the Latin tribes, not grew up around the N-dub, that so-called Gadite, that has the N-dub mentality in her brain. I'm not talking about that, because she's culturally, she's an N-dub. All right? They're here too, but they're not out there making videos like that. Who's the one making videos like that? The ones that look like the one that you see on the screen with a head wrap on. Anyways, let's play this video real quick.
Salute. You know, when I talk about Keishas, right, you have a lot of brothers over here that have daughters, right? And a lot of them be disappointed in when, you know, watching their daughters grow up and the way they act, the way they've been disrespectful. I had plenty of brothers in the comment section and in the Patreon talk about how they very disappointed in seeing what happened with their daughters, and sometimes they think it's them that was the problem or they did something wrong. And I had to tell them, listen, man, you weren't the problem. You did the best you could. It's you against an army, and that army is Keisha culture. Keisha culture. Soon as your daughter grows up, right, and starts to go out into the world, whether she goes out in the world, go to school, you know, get a job, it's you against outside.
That's right.
It's you against indoctrination.
Yep.
It's you by yourself. And even, you know, her mother adds to you know, her being indoctrinated to Keisha culture, because the Keisha that you had, the Keisha that you was with, the Keisha that you procreated with, right, also was under Keisha culture, but you didn't understand that till later. So now you're trying to get your daughter out of that mindset, but all in all, she grows up and she become a part of that culture, and now you're looking at yourself. And I'm here to tell you, no, you did the best you could. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I've been seeing this for decades. I've been seeing
And what proves it's a cultural thing and that you're up against an army is go and read the comments of these it's a woman. She could be saying any outrageous thing that you could possibly think of, because they say all kind of madness. They talk a lot of vain stupidity. That's all they talk, really. What's that saying? 10 parts of idle talk was given to the world, and 9 parts were given to women. This is what they do. They talk idle talk. They talk nonsense, you know. And I would say the majority of that was given to the N-dub, all right, amongst the women. So this is what they talk. This complete foolishness. And no matter what it is, there's always going to be a whole army of women on the comment section. I'm not talking about 5 or 20 or 30 or half and half. I'm talking about thousands upon thousands of comments. If it went viral, thousands upon thousands of comments affirming and agreeing with that. So it's not just one person. It's not just one. It's a few Keishas. It's a few, as he calls it, a few N-dubs. No, it's not. It's not just a few. It's a cultural thing It's a shaming of righteousness and an upliftment of wickedness. And the scriptures say, don't follow a multitude to do evil. And that's exactly what they do. Right? And this is why they're supposed to be under guidance. This is why they're supposed to be under control, because if not, they're very they're very impressionable. Okay? It says, this is Exodus 23:2. It says, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Let's read that in the NLT. It says, you must not follow the crowd in doing wrong. And that's what they do. They follow the crowd. And the crowd of their peers, right? They're into nothing but pure wickedness. Okay? When you are called to testify in a dispute, do not be swayed by the crowd to twist justice. How much of them, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you brothers this question. How much of them do you think in their friend group, they have discussions about how to please their husband? How much of them you think? What percentage you think have those type of friends in that type of discussion? Nah, if anything, their friends are pushing forth rebellion or talking idle talk or nonsense. This is what's going on. Okay, you go to the Philippines, you go to different women like that, and they're teaching they're speaking about, oh yeah, I cook my husband this, he loves this and that when I do this and that and that and the third. These conversations come up amongst these other women, even the Latin tribes. These conversations come up. They come up. There's a sect of them that are into that are like that they can find. They can find those that are like that. Amongst the Ndum, you're not going to find that because it's not a cultural thing with them. And I've seen the ones amongst them that are feminine, and what happens? The woman talks shit behind their back. When they have any type of semblance of doing femininity or being submissive to their husband in a relationship, any type of semblance. I'm not talking about the best. I'm not saying disrespect is fully cut out. I'm not saying all that. I'm saying just a semblance of it, which is the bare minimum. You got all she do is that. All she do is push out children. All she do is that. All she do is clean and cook all day. You can't do nothing with your life other than that. And they'll talk shit about her because she's fulfilling her purpose. I've seen that. So it's a cultural thing amongst them. And they're following the crowd to do evil and to speak evil and to deal with vain talk, which the scriptures speak about not letting her, they're not supposed to be busybodies. It's supposed to be obedient to their own husband. Let's see this, man. Goodness gracious. Maybe it's one word, actually. Okay, this is 1 Timothy 5:13. And withal, matter of fact, let's see 1 Timothy 5. This is 1 Timothy 5 in verse 9. It says, let not a widow be taken into the number under 60 years old. Okay, so she got to be at least 60 years old to be amongst the congregation, having been the wife of one man, and she had to have only one man as her husband. She couldn't have had multiple men as her husband. It says, well reported of for good works. And that's another reason why these chicks are crazy, because they got all these multiple DNAs mixing inside of them from the multiple men that they dealt with. So they're highly defiled in the West, highly defiled. It says, well reported of for good works, if she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet, if she have relieved the afflicted, if she have diligently followed every good work. Right? But the younger widows refuse For when they have begun to wax wanton against Mashiach, they will marry, having damnation because they have cast off their first faith. And withal, they learn to be idle, wandering. And when you look at their house, you can see that they're idle. Okay, I was going to find a spot recently, and you go to these women's cribs, and it's filthy. It's disgusting. You wouldn't even believe it, man. Multiple, not just one or two. I went to a few of them, you know. Well, maybe I think it was, well, I didn't go to that much, you know what I mean. But the couple the few that I've seen, the women that I've seen there, the majority, the cribs was filthy, b. And those were specifically women that was living by themselves. I mean, it was so filthy. The bathtub was brown. It's like, yo, you don't wash it. How do you? If it was so filthy, if you went into the shower, you would probably come out more dirty than you went in, because that's how nasty the shower was. I was like, what the fuck? These is women living here? Okay. So they're completely idle and useless and lazy. That's why they need order. That's why they need structure. Wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies. Yeah, speaking things which they ought not. And you probably seen that with your own mother, because I know I've seen it. All right, this person is this person is that, and then the person will call them, oh, hi, yes. Hang up, yeah, this girl, she's this and that, and this and that, and that, and the third. And you see that, and you see the hypocrisy in that as a young person. I seen the hypocrisy in them as a young man. I didn't. This is not like a thing I seen later on in life. This is something I seen as a young person. Okay, I seen the hypocrisy in them. You know, to the point when I was on my spiritual, journey, trying to find Yahweh Shem Yahushai in the spirit, and I said, listen, man, you can't be telling certain things to women. I already knew that in high school, man. I had that mindset, to some extent, But the bottom line is, there's a culture amongst the NW, a culture that is not conducive to marriage. It's not conducive to a proper relationship. Let's continue.
In this for decades. This what you about to see. You've been seeing it for decades, but you didn't look at it as problematic. You just thought it was rebellion. No, this is not being. This is downright disrespectful. This is downright disrespectful. And let me being rebellious have nothing to do with this. Listen to this.
Yesterday, my little sister told me that she was going to the gym. This is not new. This is not weird. She just said that she was going to the gym. And upon her telling me that she was planning on going to the gym, she tells me that our dad confronted her on the way out the door, basically saying that she needed to put on some more clothes. So instantly I'm confused, because I'm thinking to myself, like, what in the hell could you possibly have had on that would result in my father telling you to go change? So I asked her, and guess what she told me? She had on a crop top and leggings. A crop top and leggings, which now leads me to wonder, what the hell else are you supposed to wear to the gym? So naturally, I'm the oldest and I like to start stuff. So I called my dad. Immediately, I knew that he was annoyed because she called me to snitch. So I asked him, I said, okay, well, can you explain to me what exactly the problem was with her outfit?
And that's the problem right there. Who are you to question your dad?
Poor.
Who are you?
Poor.
Who are you to question your dad? Your father, the one who's trying to protect you. The one who's protecting you. The nerve, man, the nerve. You're his daughter. He doesn't have to answer to you. You do what he tells you to do. You live under his roof. If he tell you, hey, that's too revealing to go outside, that's too scantily clad, you go upstairs and change because your father said so. You know what this is? She watched her father gets no respect from the women in his family. Therefore, she grows up doing the same thing.
Yep.
This is what you call Keisha culture.
That's right.
She watched her mother disrespect her father.
That's right.
She watched her mother question her father and then grow up to do the same thing.
That's right.
This is what black men have been dealing with for decades.
Yeah.
Even with their own daughters.
Yep.
And he said, she's dressing for attention. Attention. What? He then proceeds to say that if she was going to an all-female gym, that she wouldn't think to dress like that. Now, for context, my sister is 18 years old. She still lives at the house. And my dad was basically trying to say that it is her responsibility to control the thoughts of other people by not inciting lust in them by wearing clothes that are quote unquote too revealing.
Well, and she rolling her eyes at her father trying to protect his daughter.
Yeah, the reason is because they don't respect you. That's why they don't respect you. Neither because, like he said, she saw that from growing up with her mother and the women in her family that didn't respect the men in her family. This is a cultural issue. Okay, first of all, it's your father. That should be the end of the story. To be questioning him is what she's doing is completely out of order, especially dealing with her younger sibling, which is his daughter in his house. But like I said, there's no order amongst them. There's absolutely no order. They don't respect any order, especially when it comes to you so-called black men. Now, and you see that even with like these older men, let's say they might be 60 years old, they don't show them no respect. They don't show them no real respect. Okay? Because of this culture. Right? When Kevin Samuels had his show, then we would talk to him like he's their peer. You know, they'll be 21 years old. This is the 50-something-year-old man, and they're talking to him like he's their peer. Completely out of control, man. Completely out of control. And if it's that bad within the culture, right? And it's like you can't find a particular a segment of the culture that's not pushing that. You know the culture is through. Okay, not pushing respect and order for the men, then the culture is through, and this is what you see, man. So when you get with one of them, this is what it's gonna come with. It may not come as overt as you see in certain cases, as you go to certain projects, and the women are super ghetto, and it may not be that extreme, but it doesn't have to be that extreme. The disrespect can be very subtle. Okay, but it could be very loud. You understand what I'm saying? When you could be dealing with a woman of another nation that will show you the respect that you deserve, and that would be more healthy for your spirit. Okay, let's go to this does affect your health. This is why these black men die so early, man. This does affect your health. It says, this is Sirach. Was that 25 in verse? I'll start at verse 20. Continue at verse 20. It says, "As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man." Right? It bothers your spirit. Okay. Then in turn it affects your health. It says, "Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure." And you can see the difference in a Jake's face when he's dealing with an Edomite or a Moabite or another nation woman. You can see there's like a lightness in his face, like he's like he's more. I mean, granted, you could find those that are dealing with some demons amongst them too, because there's a bunch of demons amongst them too, right? Really, they're all demons, but there's level to demons. Okay. You can see the difference in him than when you look at a Jake dealing with the N-Dub. You can clearly see a difference in most cases. It says, "A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. A wicked woman abateth the courage, okay, maketh an heavy countenance and a wounded heart. They destroy your spirit. And that's why a lot of these jakes are so flippin' weak and pitiful, man. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees. Yeah, they weaken you. If they're not building you up, they're weakening you. Okay? I want to see what the scripture, what the word is for abateth the courage. Let's look up abateth, the word abateth rather, or abade. Abade meaning. Abade means a dwelling place. No. Abade. Let's type in abateth. To remain stable or fixed in a state. A love that abateth the courage. I got to read that in the GNT. Let me read that in the GNT. Sirach 25 GNT. Mm. 20. Okay, so it says, verse 23, it says, a bad wife will make her husband gloomy and depressed. And that's why you jakes are depressed and messed up. That's a big reason. Your woman is completely out of order. And there's an easy solution for that. Go and get you another one. Because I guarantee if Jake all had the mindset that this man AC has and that a lot of us have, right, of not dealing with them, period, and not giving them attention at all, them N-dubs, they would go crazy. They would go absolutely, even the ones that only deal with Brad, they would lose their mind. Okay? I'm telling you. Hey man, there's power in abstinence, man. You know? I mean, when I say, I mean abstinence from them. There's power in that. You know? You control the, see, the problem is Jake thinks that they matter so much. They don't matter. You can bring back the nation with any nation, any woman of any nation. You could go to the Japhet. We could go take over Japhet land right now and create nothing but Israelite babies using their women. We can do that. So it's not, and we could bring them same spirits right back through Japhet. At this point, Jake is so far gone, it doesn't even matter. This is not the ancient world where they were accustomed to the culture of the Israelites. They serving Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. This is not that time. This is a totally different time period now. Okay, they're completely gone. They're worse than the heathen. It says a bad wife will make her husband gloomy and depressed, and break his heart. Show me a timid man who can never make up his mind. See, that's why you jakes are like that. You jakes are like, you're feeble, you're weak. A big part is because of your woman. And this dude, AC, I got to give him props because his whole thing is just don't deal with them, period. And I have to agree with him. And I will show you a wife who doesn't make her husband happy. Okay, so that's it. Point blank, period, man. That's why you see them. That's why Issachar can work the way he works, man. I'm not saying the Issacharite woman is perfect, but the Issacharite woman is on a better level. She'll know, hey, you see them videos, certain videos, the Issacharite man coming home from work, and he's not 6'3" with muscles and tattoos all over, and this top guy, he's a regular Issacharite, short, all right. But guess what? He she understands her role, okay, as a wife. So she got the food ready, and I seen one where he was coming to the door, and she basically had his beer ready at the door for him while he was walking up the stairs. She handed the beer as soon as he came in the door, and that wasn't no oh, this is out of the norm. This is a unicorn. That was just regular. That's part of their what they grew up doing. That's normal for them. Okay, and he's not making millions of dollars, man. He's working in construction, a regular job, man, a regular job. So don't let them tell you, oh, you got to be paying all the bills in order to get submission. First of all, a real submissive woman is not going to say that. A real submissive woman is going to be submissive no matter what, because that's just in her. They're just not that. They're just not it. That's it. They're just not it. They don't got it. Okay? They don't got it. And a real man, he wants submission, man. He don't want none of that extra shit. He wants respect. Fuck you mean, man. Anyways, man. Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect, man. I just want to make a quick little video, man. But, Spirit got on me to go longer. With that, Lord willing, it's edifying to the elect, and I'll say Shalom. All praise to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakwadash. Matter of fact, I'll play a little bit more of this video because there's a little bit more to be played. I'll play a little bit more and I'll close it.
You're sorely mistaken, Short Bus.
When you dress in a certain way, right? When you dress in a certain way and you go outside, right? It's not a far-fetched idea to think that you might be getting some negative attention your way because of how you dress. He can't control the actions of other men. He can't. He can't control the actions of other men. So what he's trying to do is tell you, listen, if you're dressing this way, right, opposed to dressing the way that I'm telling you to dress, you might end up getting negative attention that can possibly harm you. That's just the world. That's the world we've been living in.
And you know what? 80% of protection is them listening to your instruction, but they don't want to listen to the instruction. So the thing you should do is just cut them off completely. Hey, listen, man, I don't even talk to my sister. I don't talk to her because, I try to teach her things and show her things, and she didn't respect my things I said, and she's seen the things that I said come to pass later on, but she didn't respect the things I said because there's no respect amongst that culture. She didn't see my mom show respect to my pops in that way or anything like that. So it's just not, the respect is not there. So what I do, I don't engage with her. I don't engage with her, man. I don't say nothing to her, man. I go into I don't say hi. I don't say nothing to her, man. She be saying hi. I ignore her completely for years, man. I don't give a fuck. You understand what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck. All right? Because guess what? I understand who I am. I understand my worth. I understand that Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai has bestowed this wisdom and knowledge upon me. And every one of the family ain't gonna make it any damn way. And you have to understand that. And the majority of them is definitely not making it. Okay? You'd be lucky if 10 of them make it out of Babylon, man. Through the grace of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. I'll put a number out there, man. But they're completely gone. Even the ones that call themselves so-called sisters. They be the most out of order. Okay?
So instead of listening to your father, you're going to turn this into, well, if you just confront men and tell men, this is what she's about to say. If you confront men and tell men to control their urges and stuff like, what world you living in? Who's he? What, he's going to make a PSA, a public service announcement? Is that?
Anyways, whatever, man. The whole point is, man, you see the point. You see the point of the video. I'm probably gonna do more videos with this brother AC because hey man, I like his mentality. His mentality is to don't deal with them. Period. He spoke about how he's seen all his friends get messed up by dealing with him, and he's like, I couldn't understand. Even how he's like, I couldn't understand why they kept dealing with him. So it's like, man, listen, man. Hey, if you brothers is questioning whether you should deal with the N-dub or not, you should check out.
That's what you're saying?
So like, you should check out some of this man's videos. AC Reacts, man. With that, I'll say shalom.